Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
You are listening to the financialsurvivalnetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz on 1230 WBZT, and it's time for another Triple Lutz report. This is episode 317. The date is November 14th, 2013. So, first off, want to let you know I joined the government's Global Entry program. If you remember, I had a guest on who was giving travel tips, and she said this thing was great because when you enter the U.S. from a foreign country, you go to a kiosk, you swipe your passport, and it prints out a pass, and rather than having to deal with ICE agents and customs and immigration, you give them the pass, and they just pretty much let you go through. Of course, you're always subject to a full inspection, body cavity search, laxatives, colonoscopy, and endoscopy, and I guess any other procedure that the government deems you worthy of to make sure that you're not smuggling drugs. In my case, not a factor, not concerned about it. You heard the stories about the guy who they thought was carrying drugs, and they did orifice checks, and it's disgusting. But anyway, look, I'm an attorney. I had to get printed multiple times, for other purposes, which I won't go into. At least half a dozen of my fingerprints are on file with the U.S. government. So I went down to Miami International Airport. I'm not going to tell you what questions they asked me because, honestly, I just don't want to have a hassle with the government over disclosing the nature of the interview that I underwent at the airport with the agents. It was probing. I wouldn't say it was insulting. It was confrontational. But look, basically, it's the rules of the game. I wanted the global entry pass, so they gave it to me. But one of the side benefits is that I also automatically get cleared through TSA's pre-check program, which is one of the main reasons that I got it. I was going to go for pre-check anyway, but for $100, you get the global entry program, and they screen everything, make sure you have no criminal record, make sure you haven't been arrested, no misdemeanors. They look at your driving records, everything, public records, make sure you paid your taxes, all that good stuff. So they're doing all this stuff. Since 2011, TSA had tested the program at 40 airports. They just approved it at PBI, which is West Palm Beach International Airport. I go there last week because I'm going out to LA, and I didn't even know that they approved it. And once you're approved for the program, and the cool thing is, so I get grilled for 15 minutes, and then the agent says to me, in a really cold, nasty kind of voice, "Welcome to the global entry program." Ta-dam, I'm waiting for the trumpets. I'm waiting for the lights to light up. I'm waiting for, I won a game show competition or something. It was really, I wanted to just laugh hysterically, but, so I recommend if you're going to do this, put on a tie and jacket or a work suit if you're a female. If it's during regular business hours during the week, on the weekend, I wore a jacket, a nice shirt. I looked respectable. You're going to get treated better, let's face it. It's just the fact of the matter. If you go there in ripped jeans and a T-shirt, they're going to put you through the ringer. Look respectable. So you basically get this number, and you go into all your frequent flyer profiles with all the airlines, and you put it in the Trusted Traveler Program blank in your profiles. And then when you go to the airport and you print out your boarding pass or you print it out at home, it says TSA pre-cleared on your boarding pass. So I go to PBI. They just literally a week or week and a half before set up a pre-clear lane. And there's nobody there. And you go through this lane, and guess what? You don't have to take your shoes off. You don't have to take out the liquids in your carry-on luggage. You don't have to pull the notebook computer out of your carry-on luggage. All right? The only thing I had to do was take my belt off because it had a bunch of rivets on it. You know, it's just a belt that somebody once gave me as a present when I was a lot thinner than I was up until recently. So I'm now wearing this belt again. It's not a TSA-friendly belt. So wear a TSA-friendly belt. You won't even have to take that off. You got to take off your cell phone, put that in. You can keep wearing your jacket. Probably leave your change in your pocket. And you just go through a metal detector. No scatter shot radiation thing where you put your arms above your head and assume the position. And there was nobody in this line. And I mean, I just sailed through. It saved me at least 15 minutes going out to LAX, you know, out on the outbound flight. And then I'm coming back, and in LA, the line is like at least 35 minutes long. And I go to the pre-line there, and I just sail through. It saved me 35 minutes there. Now, there's an article in a publication called Small Government Times, and it's saying that this thing is an invasion, that you get a background check and personal interview, financial information is required before passengers are approved for the program, which isn't protected under the Privacy Act of 74. Look, the NSA has got all this stuff already. They're monitoring your phone calls. They're monitoring your email. The websites you visit, they know that. They know all this stuff already. They can look in your IRS files. They can look at anything that they want. So keeping this in mind, the fact that they can check out everything about you that they want to anyway, if you can save time and harassment and getting groped at the airport, you might as well do it. Okay? Now, granted, if they don't already have your prints and you don't want to share them, then don't do it. But there's so many professions. I think even if you're a hairdresser in certain states, you got to get printed anyway. So if they got your prints already, what are you worried about? And the fact is, at some point in the future, everyone will have to be printed anyway. I just don't see the point. Being an attorney, like I said, they've got my prints, and for other things, which you can picture why they would want them, they got my prints numerous places and dozens, probably close to a dozen times they've got them. So I'm just not thinking about it. Now, sometimes that TSA pre-check line will be long. Somebody said that was flying from LaGuardia on Delta, and the TSA pre-check line at the terminal looked like it was a mile long and not moving very fast at all, while the normal and elite security lines were chugging along and a lot shorter. But, you know, that's anecdotal. It's not usually the case. So sometimes if you're a platinum or elite member of a frequent flyer program for an airline, they'll just automatically put you into the pre-check TSA line, but don't count on it. So I think the program is worth it. If you just go TSA pre-check and apply for that, it's $85. You're better off just doing the global entry, paying the extra $15. It's good for 5 years, and then you go back again. Maybe you can renew it by mail. I don't know how it works. Maybe it's invasive, but honestly, according to smallgovtimes.com, which I happen to like the site, they've got a lot of good information on it, well written. They don't like the program, but my privacy is already gone, so I might as well at least be able to get it. And, you know, as long as it's already gone, I might as well at least not be as inconvenienced as much at the airport as I would be otherwise, right? Doesn't that make sense? I mean, I think it does. And look, I mean, you know what we're up against. So, hey, have you seen this picture, the McRib photo of what it looks like in McDonald's before they get cooked? Man, they're like frightening thing. They're like white. They look like they came out of a machine, which they probably did. It's a mystery meat specimen, as they call it. And man, fast food, hey, you're going to get fries once in a while, probably okay, but I don't recommend that stuff ever. Don't do it. Could be hazardous. Once in a while, any kind of crap, fast food is okay. Not going to do much to you. But look, don't do it. It's just not good for you. Stay away. Hey, what did I tell you that there was no way that healthcare.gov was going to be ready by December 1st? They didn't disappoint. We all knew this was coming. They couldn't do it. No possible way. And in an article in the Fiscal Times, they said there's no hope for healthcare.gov. And what I found out is that Obamacare really isn't Obamacare. It's Obamacaid. Think about it, because it's really out there to expand Medicaid. That's its purpose, not to give insurance to the middle class through the subsidies. It's turning into Obamacaid. And I heard of an interesting term that interns and residents give to people who are on Medicare. I bet you never heard this term, and I've been sworn to silence on it by a friend, but I'm going to break that confidence. People on Medicaid who go to the emergency room are derisively referred to by younger residents as, are you ready? You're going to love this term, sposers. Now, I don't know how you spell it. I'll just say it's SPOSERS, sposers. So this bill is for the benefit of sposers. Remember that the next time you go to the emergency room and you see it filled with all the sposers. Okay? So keep that in mind. You're listening to the FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz, 1230 WBZT.
Hi, it's Kerry Lutz. I recently decided to move my retirement account into physical precious metals to hedge against the coming times. If you want to move an existing retirement account into physical precious metals that you can hold in your hand, tax-free, there's no company that can do it more quickly and efficiently than Regal Assets. It took them just 24 hours to open my new IRA account, and all I had to do was fill out one simple form. The best part is that Regal Assets does all the work for you. They cover the setup and administrative costs for 2013. If you're interested in making the same move I did, call 855-678-6620, 855-678-6620. That's 855-678-6620, or visit them at regalassets.com. You'll be glad you did, and tell them Kerry sent you.
Hey, we're back. And did you hear about this poor lady? Her name is Adriana. She is the face of Obamacare. She was the picture up on the original healthcare.gov site. I thought she was a professional model. She's from Colombia. I think that was the rumor, but she's been bullied, harassed. I think she was kind of crazy. Her picture was supposedly picked at random for this site, and she said she's been cyber bullied, picked on, and she won't give her last name. People hate her because her photo's there. She's become synonymous with failure. Honestly, the picture that's up there compared to the interviews, she's a lot more attractive. I think she should dump these long earrings. They don't really work with her face, but that's just my opinion. Look, Adriana, you want to become the face of failure. Well, that's what you became, It was a risk you took, and it's just too bad. I'm sorry to hear it, but, that's what happens. So you want to become the face of a socialist program, of a socialist state. You're going to take the garbage that goes with it. You thought about it. You probably wouldn't have done it. Hey, did you hear that there's a proposed California law that requires protective eyewear in porn? It's a bill which kind of weird, but there was a condom bill that passed that requires all porn stars to use condoms. Probably a good health law, but production in the porn industry is moving out. This measure is like really kind of strange, but it's currently stalled in the Senate Rules Committee. But health issues is one thing where you can kind of justify the state getting involved under the police power. But hey, so then we've got this former Fed official, Husker, and you want to listen to my friend Alan Butler's upcoming interview on Liberty Express Radio, because he's apologizing for QE. He says originally he thought it was a good idea. He was in charge of the bond buying program, but now he's come to realize that all it did was make bankers richer and jack up the profits of the banking industry. I'm shocked. I am just totally shocked. Who would have thought that QE would just do that? He said it's been awful for Main Street and it's just been terrible. And how could we have allowed this to happen? And, it's the purpose of the Federal Reserve, you idiot. Come on. The Federal Reserve was created to become the lender of last resort. We go back to the panic of 1907, J.P. Morgan personally bailing out the banking system, the U.S. government. I mean, this is in the history books, for crying out loud. Am I the only one God, this is pathetic. I mean, it's in the books. All right. The Federal Reserve was created to become the lender of last resort. And it wasn't to protect you or to protect me. It was to protect J.P. Morgan, to protect the banks before they became banksters. This was an outgrowth of the Knickerbocker Trust Company's effort to corner the copper market, right? J.P. Morgan can teach them a lesson, causing a bunch of banks to collapse, right? This got out of hand, caused a banking panic, and then J.P. Morgan got together with a bunch of banks, and basically they bailed out these banks, and it caused a contraction in the banking industry. And who is the beneficiary when the banking industry contracts? It's the big banks, all right? But they didn't want to be in that position again. They get to the creature from Jekyll Island. They have this meeting with the Rothschilds representatives. Our friend G. Edward Griffin goes into exquisite detail in his book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. And hence, we wind up with the Federal Reserve, this abomination, which is sucking the life out of all of us. And henceforth, there will not be any more bank runs. Life is good. Everything's going to be wonderful until we hit the Great Depression. And then there's bank runs, okay? But this thing is created to bail out the banks, especially the big banks. That's its purpose. So, Mr. Husser, sorry that you're sorry, but you have a very poor command of history. Otherwise, you would have known that the Federal Reserve was created to bail out the banks, and the crash of 08-09 just gave him the opportunity to do that. And the Bernanke really was a student of the Great Depression and was determined that there would never be another Great Depression again. So instead, we're going to have an inflationary depression. I don't want to get into it. Just suffice it to say that this is what's happening. Okay, so you read my last newsletter, which was, if you want to keep your insurance, if you want to keep your doctor, you can, if and when hell should freeze over. So the Democrats are taking unbelievable heat and flack. So Obama issues today on November 14th, an executive order or whatever, because millions of consumers are getting cancellation notices, and he's going to encourage insurance companies to continue offering their consumers the same health plans next year, meaning 2014. He says the fix won't solve every problem for every person, which means it's not going to do anything, but he wants to appear like he's doing something, except that he wants to head off legislation that House Republicans are pushing, which would allow insurance companies to continue selling new policies, same as the old ones, indefinitely, that would not comply with the Obamacaid's new consumer standards. And he will not accept legislation that would drag us back to a broken system. The system was not that broken, but the system we got now is he wants to go from a broken system to no system to chaos. It's quite obvious, and that's what we're going to have. This is going to be a case of too little, too late. People are not going to believe him. He's lost all credibility, and I think the insurance companies are getting to the point where they're going to turn on him. They've got too much invested in Obamacaid to let this go. Now, remember, Obamacaid is only helping the sposers. Remember, a sposer? Remember what a sposer is. The sposers are people getting the CAID. And that's what they used to call it in New York, the CAID. My assistant, Yvette, who I loved and had to leave in New York, unfortunately, she worked in hospitals validating benefits, and they called it the CAID. So a sposer is somebody who gets the CAID. And Obama conceded that the problems with the rollout of Obamacaid have hurt his standing with Americans, saying he has to win back some credibility. If you're a thinking person, no politician ever has any credibility ever. And he said, we fumbled the rollout on this health care law. You think? Really? You think you might have fumbled the rollout? I don't know. Maybe. But he said that he was unaware that the federal online marketplace, healthcare.gov, was riddled with technological flaws before it went live on October 1st. I was not informed directly that the website was not working the way it was supposed to, he said. Oh, so he was informed indirectly. Oh, did he get an email? Or did somebody tell somebody who told somebody who told somebody else that said, Mr. President, it's not working? What does that mean? This is garbage. Idiot, you knew. When did you know? And when didn't you know? When did you stop knowing? I mean, come on. Give me a break. Did you know about it when you read it in the paper? Or when Leno made a joke about it? This is ridiculous. And he said the website would be working better by November 30th. Come on. It's not going to. It's not working. They signed up 26,500 people in October, and I don't even believe that number because they might have signed them up, but they haven't informed the insurance companies that they signed them up because those 834 files or whatever they're called can't be successfully transmitted to the insurance companies, which means that the consumers who signed up for the policies for Obamacaid think they have insurance, but guess what? They don't have insurance. This is a cluster, you know what? Exactly what was predicted on the Financial Survival Network back in April of this year is exactly what is coming to pass. So Fred Upton, who I have no love for, he's a Republican congressman from Michigan, is trying to pass this bill called You Can Keep Your Health Insurance If You Like It, or whatever it's called. They're going to pass it in the House. The Senate will put it in the you-know-what can. And, come on, it's just so silly. And there's no fix that he's putting forward because it's only going to be for a year. And look, the final analysis is I think that the insurance industry will be forced to nullify Obamacaid. And That's going to be interesting. Will they be prosecuted? If the entire insurance industry just says, you know what, Mr. President, we can't issue policies under Obamacaid, we won't. And we will issue policies for existing disease. Okay? We have to do it. We have no choice. We're going to do it. And they're going to be 3 times the price of the others, but we will issue catastrophic policies with high deductibles. And if you want it, you got it, you pay for it. And they'll still be cheaper than the ones on healthcare.gov. It'll be interesting to see what happens. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to the day that Catherine Sebelius gets to spend more time with her family. I think that day is rapidly approaching. I hope she has a big family, lots of grandchildren, so she can spend more time with them. I'm sure it'll be a lot more fulfilling than it is now, because God knows she's going to be so happy to get out of government. And who could blame her? I mean, look, she's taken the fall for the admin. She had nothing to do with this thing. The woman doesn't know how to code. She doesn't know how to set up a website. In fact, very few people in the government know how to do it. And that's the whole problem with this thing. They are clueless. They are incompetent. They know nothing. And they're a perfect matchup to the low information voter who dominates the system now. And as long as we keep voting for these type of people, then this is what we're going to get. We get the government we deserve. And if this is the government we deserve, then it was preordained that we would wind up in the situation that we're in now. Hey, go over to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Make sure you sign up for that newsletter. I mean, we've got so many thousands of subscribers now, I can't even believe it. But one thing they agree on, and you will too, information there is valuable. We're not bogging you down with a bunch of garbage and a bunch of irrelevant articles. What you read there is directly applicable to your life now. It will help, promise. We're talking about Bitcoin this week. Bitcoin to infinity, because Bitcoin will go because gold and silver are not being allowed to go. A lot of valuable information on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Go there now. You'll enjoy it, I promise. And hey, have a prosperous week ahead. We got a couple interviews coming up on Friday, November 15th. I'm off to Orlando to see my oldest and dearest fan, but we'll still try to get up a couple of interviews. Hope you have a great week ahead, and we'll talk to you next week. Be well. Kerry Lutz, financialsurvivalnetwork.com, signing off.
Our friend Tom Dyson at the Palm Beach Letter is giving away free copies of a really cool report he put together called How to Protect Yourself from America's New Secret Police. Inside, you'll learn all sorts of simple, everyday tricks you can use to make yourself a little less visible and vulnerable to scammers, hackers, and even the federal government. For instance, inside Tom's report, you'll learn which free internet email service never to use. This company doesn't care if your account gets hacked or not. 4 things the government must tell you if they request your social security number. And how to spot skimmers lying in wait on ATMs and gas pumps, and much, much more. These tricks and secrets are low-hanging fruit ideas. You don't have to invest time or much money into them. Most are free. But by taking some basic measures, you can make your privacy much harder to invade than your neighbors. Tom's report is available for a limited time to listeners who take a trial subscription to his newsletter. Just visit the Financial Survival Network homepage for more information, or go to www.palmbeachletter2.com. That's www.palmbeachletter2.com.
The the Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.